called by name. Got purpose, got vision, I'll never be the same. Rise, stand tall, yeah, we claim our way. Brotherhood of Excellence Academy. Leading boys today. Brotherhood of Excellence Academy. Yeah. I am strong, I am brave, yeah, I'm called by name. Got purpose, got vision, I'll never be the same. Rise, stand tall, yeah, we claim our way. Brotherhood of Excellence Academy. Yeah, leading boys today. I am strong, I am strong.
Welcome. My name is Dr. Shanika Smith, and I serve as the founder and the executive director of the Brotherhood of Excellence Academy, where we're on a mission of ending fatherless generations by preparing males for empowerment, entrepreneurship, enrollment, enlistment, and employment. Welcome to our podcast, Teaching Boys and Raising Sons. Today's episode, creating a reading challenge using books by and about Black men. Creating a reading challenge using books by and about Black men. So let me ask you a question. What if the next book your son or sons read could change how he sees himself forever? Today, we're going to talk about creating a reading challenge that doesn't just build literacy, it builds identity, it builds leadership, and of course, it builds biblical principles. So let's look at what the research says. Dr. Tim Elmore has taught us that books are mirrors and windows. I also want to lift up Dr. Gloria Latson Billen, who also confirmed through her many years of research. She says that when boys of color see themselves in what they read, engagement skyrockets, identity strengthens, and academic achievement follows. All of these are benefits simply happen when boys of color see themselves in what they are reading. Again, you have a skyrocket of engagement, you see strength in their identity, and then you see academic achievement also increases as well. The research further shares that the brain learns best when content connects to personal identity and culture. So, when you're able to connect your content to their prior learning experiences, you actually begin to see the brain start to engage in what you're talking about or what you're teaching or what you're reading. And then my own research, when I researched information up regarding our rural communities, it proves that when we center our boys' experiences and heritage, we unlock potential that traditional approaches have a tendency to miss. So let's look at some practical strategies that you can do in terms of this reading challenge. First, you want to build your king or your scholars book list. Again, you want to build your kings or your scholars book list for your sons. Choose 10 books featuring Black boys, Black men, and also our biblical heroes. I include biographies like Hidden Figures for our young readers, or books about entrepreneurs, or even illustrations of biblical stories such as David, Daniel, Joseph, and also Paul. And let your son select books, because what that does, it builds agency, it builds ownership, and of course, it builds buy-in. Step 2, you want to create a clear goal or goals with a success criteria. Okay. So again, you want to create clear goal or goals with a success criteria. So think about it. You're the teacher in your home. And so you want to set the expectations for this reading challenge. You want to sit down and write a goal, such as you may want your son or your sons to read one book every week or every 2 weeks. And then you may have a criteria to share or have them to be able to share one leadership principle from each book. And then how does that connect to who God says that they are? You can post it all around the house, and then you can review it on a weekly basis. And then number 3, you want to create formative check-ins with high support. Again, formative check-ins with that high level of support. After each book, you can ask them, what did this person do that showed courage? How does that connect to one of my favorite scriptures, Jeremiah 29:11, God's plan for your life? Give feedback. You as a parent, you want to give feedback that builds confidence. You want to say things like, I love how you're thinking like a leader, or I love how you're able to extract information from a textbook and apply it to your life. Again, that's that check in with high support that your son may need. Let's look at it from a leadership perspective. Think of reading like planting a garden. Every book is a seed. As we discussed earlier, Dr. Tim Elmore in his book Habitudes Framework teaches us that leadership grows through images and stories that stick. So when your son reads about Langston Hughes or Frederick Douglass or even King David, he's not just learning history, he's planting seeds of identity. And Psalms 37 reminds us and even tells them that he's fearfully and wonderfully made. Those seeds will grow into the leader God has designed for him to be. So, my challenge for you this week is to start your reading challenge. Go to the library or the bookstore or even a thrift store together and let your sons pick up their first book. Then create a reading ritual, maybe 20 minutes before they go to bed or on a Saturday morning, whatever works for your household. Make it special, make it consistent. And after each chapter, ask, what leadership qualities did you see? And how do you plan to use them on this week? I cannot forget the biblical principle. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7 says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. When we teach our boys to read, we're teaching them to seek wisdom. James, of course, 1 and 5, one of my favorite scriptures as well, promises that God gives wisdom. If you ask him, God gives wisdom liberally to those who ask. Every book, every conversation, every movement you invest is preparing your son for the future God has for them. And as we alluded to earlier, Jeremiah 29:11 isn't just encouragement, it's a promise. It says, for I know the plans I have for you, declared the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. So to my parents, keep in mind, you are raising kings. You are cultivating scholars. You are nurturing servant leaders who know their identity in Christ. Let's be intentional and let's build literacy and leadership with joy, excellence, and accountability. Until next time, teaching boys and raising sons through entrepreneurship, empowerment, enrollment, enlistment, and employment. Take care.